thank you very much for this introduction and of course for inviting me, having me here. Thank you for being here in great numbers. First of all, this morning actually somebody asked me like, how do you like to be in Poland and how do you like to work with, I'm really in this light, wait, I need to find another spot. How do you like to work with Polish people, Polish clients, Polish co-architects, etc.? And the only thing, or the first thing I could think of is like, it's always a surprise. There's always surprises, and they're very pleasant, I have to say. So that's really my, I've been working here for quite some years, and that's really the first impression I still have. And also coming here actually today, beautiful building on a beautiful winter day, amazing lobby with this light just hanging there still. And actually also now the light is off, so I don't really see you anymore, but there's really a lot of ladies. That's really good to see. So welcome, it's excellent. It's very often the opposite, I have to say. A lot of men in suits with ties. So keep up that spirit. And of course, I think most of the organization is also female, so really nice. But then you do have to do something about your lineup here, because I was the only female talking. So I have the honors. All right, well, thank you for being here. Element Urban Talks. And actually, I think before it was actually interior talks. A nice change along the way. Of course, there's actually hardly any difference maybe, so that's also something we'll touch upon. So let's talk urban, let's talk about cities. Let's talk about cities which get denser, which get more technology. There's more technology there. There's of course a lot more people, a lot more topics. And I would like to take you along a journey, a small one, of course, given this time. Actually, the time is not running, I see now. Okay, all right, I need to change the time. Yep, so a small journey along some of the projects that we did and some of the research that we do, because we don't just for nothing put the architecture, urbanism and research underneath our logo. So I try to show you a collection of projects, very old, recent, research work which helps to get along with it, and of course urbanism along the way. Okay. But first of all, I would like to just give a brief introduction to our office before I get into the topics of some of the city issues that we have to work with and have to deal with, like how do you run a city, how do you keep it going, how do you keep it comfortable, how do you make it a place for people. And that's topics that actually the office has been working on since the beginning. So this is I always throw in these slides to explain the name, because it's very hard to pronounce. It's the MVR, the DV, from these three people, the founding partners, which comes together as MVRDV. But of course there's more people. I'm one of the lucky ones to be in the management team. But of course there's many more people, and actually there's many more people. At this moment we're with 220 people, or even more. It sort of changes day by day. And they're from many different countries. And we have 3 different locations, of which in Rotterdam, in Holland, is the main one. That's where all the design work is done. And but we have an office in Shanghai and one in Paris. And altogether, there's indeed around 225 people doing all the projects all over the world. This is where we are located in Rotterdam. It's a historic building, actually, of Maaskant, quite a well-known, I would say, Dutch architect around or after the war. Built a lot of these kind of multifunctional buildings. This used to be a garage. Now it works as an architecture studio, and this is what it looks like inside. So we have this, we have a sort of threefold in the office. So on the left side you see the ateliers, the studios where all the projects are done. Then on the right side you see a lot of the meeting rooms, and in the middle we have the street. That's where we gather. That's where we make noise. That's where we have lunch. That's where we can make a loud phone call, etc. While in the other side, this is where the meeting rooms are. We have a lot of different types. So one is the formal one, which is boardroom. The orange one here is the workshop room. We can ping pong if we really are stressed out. We can do some drawing on the walls or make beautiful models. On the other hand, so this diversity, of course, is something which we embrace. And this is then the studio, where the more quiet work is done. We work really all over the world. Therefore, also we need so many people, and all from different countries. I have to say we have quite a lot of Polish people actually in the office. And then you get a portfolio which really doesn't tell you one story. It's all about different projects, different locations, different clients, and that's really also how we work. So it's testing. If we get a project in, if we start a research, it's testing the site, questioning the client. They're questioning us. You get a nice debate, and you're trying to get really most of what you can get out of a project. Yeah, and where do you stretch it to the boundaries? At the same time, as I said, research is really important for us. We work together with the university in Delft, and we have made a lot of books up to now. And basically, they all separate one topic to really go more deeply and maybe beyond boundaries, let's say, into one topic and isolate that to see what would happen if we fly around with cars instead of just on the regular ground level. And what happens if we test these kind of high towers, high density urban environments on different topics? What if we want to get the light in? What if we have the best escape route? What if we want all to have the best view? All research which actually helps the rest of our projects. So again, quite a lineup of books to go along with the projects. So again, I would like to share with you some of the projects next to the research. And first want to show you some of the projects you might have seen, others not. This is what the office started with 25 years ago, actually. We had a party like a couple of months ago in the gardens of this VPRO building. It's the headquarters for a broadcasting company. And it's the first building of the office. It's the first commission that they got. They were actually not even an office at that moment. They just gathered some students like, okay, pretend to be an office, and then they got a commission, and then they could actually hire some people. So it's quite a interesting time. And here you can see the curving floors indicating that we don't want to. We wanted to make one big building for all, so people would actually start to meet each other. Then in Expo 2000, the pavilion for the Netherlands, we were already trying to dig into density and go vertical. Like, why don't we stack our landscapes, or why don't we flip this Mirador in Madrid? Why don't we flip the building and actually give everybody a view? Why don't we introduce a public route along a mall, which is really, of course, uncommon? This is in Japan, in Tokyo. Or very close to Rotterdam in Spijkenisse, we built this library, but made it totally out of glass to invite people actually in, to make sure that people are not only starting to read again, but also start to meet again. And here in Amsterdam on the Bessenhoofd, we were testing the historic value, our own heritage. How can we improve this even? How can we make it more part of our times? And make it maybe just completely out of a different material? Is it still the same, or is it actually adding more? So up to all the mullions and all the window frames, it's built out of glass. And it really gives quite an amazing view. Or this is in Bordeaux. It's an urban study, actually now under execution. So it started with a research, then it became a master plan, and now we're actually executing the first buildings. This is a former harbor area, turned into a housing area, so a new neighborhood. But all dictated by the daylight. So how the daylight would turn around this location actually shapes the building so everybody would have the most of sun possible. Or Almere Floriade in the Netherlands. Normally these environments are just made for like a year as an expo on flora. And we said, why don't we add actually a city? Why don't we make this into a city, a new neighborhood? Because Almere actually needs some. It's very close to Amsterdam. So do both things at the same time. In Rotterdam, of course, we built a market hall. It's been quite a discussion also. We add to the housing, which is the arch, we added this huge interior space, which is actually a bonus. And it's well visited. There's many people coming up, and it's really a new location in the city. Or here in Tianjin Library, again, celebration of books, but more out of this time. This is recently delivered with a lot of technology and data in it. And then, of course, we did do some projects in Poland we're very proud of. We actually won quite some nice prizes also with this. And here you can see maybe the bit of an awkward shape, but it really came from all the urban regulations. Like it needed to be a sort of tower, but the plot was too wide and we couldn't really go high. So how to do that? How to make it still elegant? There was a subway station right there, so we needed to make a cut in the building. So and connect to the building right in the back. So it's quite an iconic building, I would say, along the inner circle of the city, dividing the historic side and the new. But at the same time, we've put just as we just put as much emphasis on the space in between to make it comfortable for people to stay, and not only during work hours or lunchtime, but also during the weekend and across all seasons. And this is a recent project we're now actually working on also in Łódź. A similar program. It's mostly office and rental space, but then we try to make it, to give it this inner space where people can actually sit and be shielded from all the traffic and the harsh climate. Okay, so back to Element Urban Talks. And I threw the thing a bit around. So let's talk about urban elements. Maybe that's easier to understand. So, as I said, I'm going to talk about some of the issues that has to do with indeed cities and density and how to make it still comfortable. Of course, I'm not going to have a full range. I'm not going to have one straight answer or one solution. This is merely to, take you on a little journey around these researches, around these projects that we do, which indeed talk about urban elements. And I just picked out a couple. Food, connectivity, living people. Of course, there should be climate change, energy, a lot of different topics there, but then I would be talking for the whole weekend. I don't think that would be a lot of fun. So these are some topics that I selected, and mainly to really talk about how we live. So how do we deal with all this as people? How do we live together? So, and then, of course, what architecture can do, because we're designers, we're architects, urbanists, and researchers. To start off with food, maybe that's the oldest research we did. How to feed a city. Of course, it's a really broad topic, and again, also this we didn't really solve. But as you see today, there's a lot of urban farming. It's really interesting. It's fantastic that almost all the roofs in Rotterdam are green by now. And it's great to indeed, for all these generations, create awareness of where food actually comes from, and that you need to treasure it instead of waste it. That you that you understand where it's, how it grows and what it actually looks like before it's packed in some sort of plastic thing. But of course, it's not going to feed the whole city. And this is a rather vague picture I took from the plane when coming here yesterday morning. And I was really puzzled, like, what am I looking at? What is this, like a giant tennis court, or what is this? But it's actually a greenhouse, or maybe you should say an LED house by now. Because of course we all know that this is more the lab, and even an old-fashioned one, because now it's all vertical. It's a lab where indeed food is grown. So, but to go back to this image, it actually, and this is very close to Floriade, for instance, very close to Amsterdam, where we have a big topic of like how to create new houses, new homes for a lot of people, and then this kind of thing is taking up a lot of space. So it can be even more dense. It can even go higher up, and that's indeed a project which we did years ago. It's called Pig City, and it caused a big debate, I can tell you. And how dare we talk about putting our food, putting our animals in such a building? But we really tried to study and to see, like, why would we not put all the production, all the feeding, all the breeding, and the afterwork and the logistics really in one big building, and put it on the right spot so it's very close. Because why would we do very mystical about where our sausage comes from? And it looks really cute in this way, but it looks really less cute in this way. Of course, we all know. So back then, I think it's even, I'm not sure the exact year, but this is like 15 years ago. So how to make the perfect machine where we can actually free up some space and give it to these poor pigs, and have the machine groom them, feed them, clean them, etc. And they can even go outside, whatever level in the air you are. They can even have a stroll outside. And again, indeed, the machine feeding them in a more natural way than we have. And yes, it looks like a machine. It's huge and it's stacked, but hey, we do want to have our sausage, so that's the fact. But then indeed, by combining everything, and the breeding, and the butcher, and the logistics, at least they don't have to be transported as live animals. So here we would see the distribution area. And then again, if you find the right location, in this case quite close to the harbor, to ship our Dutch pigs to Italy, where they're called Parma ham, or very close to the city, where of course most of the people are actually where the consumers are. And then in the meantime, have a bit of a better life for these animals. But of course, the best discussion at this moment is that we all turn vegetarian. Like here, this is the vegetarian butcher. It's a brand, and we can all eat the little willies in a vegetarian way. Of course, that would already solve a lot. Okay. On to another topic, which is also a bit more of the hardcore, let's say, of the city, connectivity. And what would actually happen if we don't only plan on ground level and then up a little bit, but really in 3D? So again, a study we did, Skycar City, we did years ago together with the university in Delft. Here you can also already see, going up a little bit, making more three-dimensional cities and connecting on different heights. This is very dark, but this is like an early idea back then of like how you could maybe move around, like in the Minority Report, the movie with, what's his name again? Anyway, flying around in cars and connecting to buildings on different levels. As you can see here. So it's not only on ground level, but it's also in the air. What would actually change our design and our approach to designing such a tower? It would be immense. We can only start to imagine here and now. But actually, this is an image of a week ago, presented in Amsterdam, the Drone Week. Which is which is an combination of an Airbus and Uber project, and they're all trying to see like how big can this drone actually be, what can it be used for, and they came up with this really tiny car and a huge drone, and they can be connected, of course, and fly around. So it's not that far away. I don't know when I'm going to be sitting in one of those. And then from research back to the project. So reconnecting the city. I selected one which is in Seoul, Korea, where a highway is actually abandoned already some years ago. And a bit like the High Line in New York, you all of a sudden have this space. And you have this thing which goes through your city, which of course connects to different locations very easily. So what to do with this? We studied first on how can we actually use the green quality which is already there around this, this project, and how can we use the activity which is already there, but then maybe even connecting it. So how can you use the pedestrian area and make it really much stronger? You need to have everything connected via this highway, which of course before was only for cars. So we started to imagine, we started to dream about this, like what could it actually all mean? It's not a beautiful park on pedestals, but it's actually reconnecting parts of the city again. And we added the green to it, and then we called it the Sol Arboretum. So it's the local flora, the local plants, which we actually placed along the whole line. So it's a chronological order, all the different local plants that would exist here, connecting again to urban activities. A lot of different things, but also connecting to all the buildings, which are very close to this High Line. And then we implemented some activators, some pavilions for a coffee, a tea, a market, or just a small exhibition or green. And this is what it looks like today. You can see all the different plants and the different connectors to the ground level. And this was like right after the opening, and I think this is more like today. So it's a gentle walk over your city where you never used to be. And there's different ways of getting there. So there's different experiences. Here, for instance, it just goes from the normal ground level. Let's say you're sort of easily taken up. You come across some of the connector activators, and you easily walk up this hill, and then you're up there in a different world. And indeed, again, you can see the different levels connecting to buildings where it was not, where you didn't have an address before. Now all of a sudden you have the Solista address, which actually brings you, for instance, in this case, to a bar with a view on top of the on the High Line. So before it was up there, and now you can just walk up there. This is the other way of getting there, and then this is where you pop up. And this is where you walk, and you can, of course, have a view, or you can look through. You have some gadgets, a lot of picture moments, but really it's also a very comfortable and nice place to be at, as if you're in a regular or in a botanical garden, almost closing you off from the city life, getting closer and closer to the green. So reconnecting the city in that sense, and it's working really quite well. So what architecture can do, so not for pigs this time, but really for people. So what can we do? What about the living? And how to personalize this density. So already from the start of the office, this is the first project actually Winnie, Jacob and Nathalie did together. It's Berlin Voids. It's the Europan competition. You probably know it's a very young audience I saw here as well. Which they won 25 years ago. And of course, like any other Europan site, it was never built. But it's a very intriguing study. And here already, they started to see or research how you can actually live together in a mixed-use building. And with these kind of sections, so not only to design from the outside, but really actually from the section. And to see how can we make all these different spaces for all the different needs that people in the city actually have. And this is a follow-up not that long ago. If you see the comparison. The study first did in TU Delft again. It was one studio to see that the team really needed to work together to see, like, I have my program, I want to be a rock star, I want to be reading all day, I'm actually never there, and they had to cooperate and see which space fitted where. So it was a whole process to actually get to this, to this new envelope. So you see that from the early days until this was last year, we actually work on similar topics. But of course, every time exploring new sites, new techniques, and of course, time is running, so also there needs change. To go from the left side to the right side, to personalize it. And this was, let's say, an art installation in Eindhoven with that same topic. And this topic has been there all the time. We call it the vertical village, and it's been an exhibition in many different countries, but it all started with this image, having that in mind, of actually quite a lot of cities, not in Europe, but anywhere else in the world, to be solving, in a way, the issue of housing lots of people in a very small place. Well, of course, there's many things to start to wonder about. Why couldn't it look more like this? Why couldn't everybody still have their own home with their own needs and their own necessities and still live in a city? Or why could a city which is already there not just be added to and grow more organically and start to stack and go higher and higher with even green spaces or sports or public spaces, and actually make, you know, one big collection out of this. So everybody has their own identity still. You can actually point, that pink house is mine, instead of that one little window, which nobody will recognize. This is one of the exhibitions. As I said, we had many more. So how to improve urban life. So this is one, you can say this is one project which actually looks, this is in Pune, India. You can challenge, of course, what is so different between the buildings on the left, which I showed in the first image with all the windows, and our new project right here. Well, if you see the size and the density of it, they're very similar indeed. But if you start to zoom in, and that's where indeed the project comes from, and that's why research is so important to actually have next to it, so you always challenge yourself at the same time. So here you can see that actually the colors show the different types of housing and the numbers of rooms, which before in India was totally not taken care of. It was all very, it was organized just by one color, let's say, in this sense. So there's already quite a big a mix, which is very new in these surroundings. Then here you can also see what happens on the plinth. So if you start to zoom in, you see some bigger windows also in these houses, and of course relatively small. But we have to squeeze this very solid market, which is totally fixed on, you know, getting this density for a certain price, which of course is very low. So you have to do what you can, basically, and put some diversity in it. So first in the type of houses, but also in communal space, which was also never really considered. As you can see here, you can look from one communal space into the other, and there's different types, and they're getting more and more used. And you see this was one phase, there's two more phases, so it's immense. It's a really big project. But by connecting the ground level and by adding a different kind of program throughout the project and on different heights, we hope indeed to have this more urban diversity in there, and also activating the ground level, which is never really done before. There's parks, there's playgrounds, etc. There's passageways to connect them. And also, if you look at the interior, they're very simple. They're just the normal setup, but they can still have their own ceremonies, or just live, you know, a more modern life, maybe. It can all happen there. So there's quite a lot of diversity, and we're quite proud of how far we got in this project. So that was a very big scale densification, let's say. Now back maybe to the smallest we did. This is the first building actually building or piece of furniture, I don't know what you want to call it, but project we did in Rotterdam. I think after this was in 2004. So we didn't have a project in Rotterdam for a long time. So and then we have this really cute tiny one. And again, this talks about the same topic. It's also about how to densify, the classic city that we have to deal with. So it doesn't matter what scale you're actually working on. It's really about your approach and how you can, add to that topic. So here we added this. This was the one building, or one of the few, which had a flat roof. So, and these people who were living there, the family was growing, the business was growing. So they had a choice either to move out of the city to the suburbs, let's say, which most people would normally do, but they really didn't want to move. They wanted to stay in that city, be connected as they used to be, and not leave. So we used the flat roof to actually build a new village for them on top. So it's 2 houses, one for the parents, and the other one is for the 2 kids. And then a nice terrace around it, as you can see here. So a new structure, a new terrace, 2 picnic tables for the morning and the afternoon, and the 2 houses. And this is the full building, and this is the terrace on top. And this is one of the stairs, which is actually just hung, so it doesn't touch the original floor. This is for the kids. They both have their own stair to go up or down, like this, like the fireman. Okay. Of course, enjoying a really nice view, which you didn't have before. So talk about the people at this moment and how you can make them reclaim or reinvent their city. And the first project I wanted to share is a very small one, it's a tiny one again. It's a big stair. It's this thing in the middle. But it was only there temporarily. It was there for a couple of weeks. First, I think it was planned to be there for 4 or 6 weeks. In the end, it was doubled. They thought, this stair is too high up. Who would ever climb it? But in that short time, all the number of citizens of Rotterdam is like 700,000 actually climbed up that stair, and it was a huge success. And and why actually? Because it's just climbing a stair. But on the other hand, you're opening up a whole new level in the city. It's opening up the roofs. And apparently people really enjoyed it. So they would go up and indeed go on to this. This is also a Maaskant building actually, next to the train station. They would go up there, walk around and have a view onto the city from a different side. You can see, of course, many selfies were taken from this very point. So by simple means, you introduce a new view on the city, which was taken very positively. And of course, there's also urban debate. What if it's on? What if you want to start building on a location where actually, people would like to have it open? So this is at this moment under construction in Rotterdam. It's the archive, the depot for the Museum Boijmans van Beuningen, which you can see a small part of it next to it. And it's a very central location in the city. And they were really wondering, and together with the city, they studied what kind of location should you actually use for this kind of project. Because now, at this moment, they're all spread out over the outer ring of the city, and they're really not they don't have the right conditions, and they're actually quite far away, and they're all separate, and nobody can enter. So that was the biggest challenge for them, like how can we build this on a right spot, very close to the museum, but actually really in the middle of the city, to have this new program for the citizens and for the visitors, and really open up all the heritage which is actually stored in there and never shown or only on certain occasions. So here you can see the park. It's right at the end. And that, of course, caused quite a lot of discussion, indeed, because it's a green area, which is part of a strip where, people, of course, would walk their dogs and be happy to be out in the green. But if you look at it, the quality of the front part is it was actually a bit less. Anyway, there's a lot of institutions around. You might know the Kunsthal of OMA. Then you have the New Institute, the Center for Design, Fashion and Architecture. There's a big hospital on the other side. Of course, you have the Boijmans van Beuningen Museum, and then you have the park in the middle. So what we did is, first of all, look at the current position of the park. This is what it was, a very orthogonal. It was not the most pleasant place to stay, but of course it was green. So why not put all the trees that we have to take away onto the roof? Well, it's not the same trees because they wouldn't survive, but yet it's the same number. And we made the building round, so it doesn't create a backside. So all the neighbors are actually invited, and we don't, put our backs to anyone because we want to be part of this. We made it a bit more narrow at the bottom to create as much public space there as possible, which means that the top actually sort of hoovers out a little bit more, and that's where we have the public terrace, which you can actually go to without any ticket. Then we make the whole thing out of a mirror, and that's to sort of look around the corner, but also to double the experience of the park, and to really reflect all the green there, and but also to reflect the neighbors, and to make a new alignment, let's say, a new engagement with the city. We have this huge atrium inside, which should show the other side, let's say, of the museum, for which you would have to buy a ticket. You can have a guided tour into the archives even, but on the roof, as I said before, you can actually just go there and bring your own sandwich and enjoy the city. So we thought we were really quite well on the way. But meanwhile, this is the park as it used to be. And still there were really quite a lot of people against. Like, what do you do to my park? So this says, we are against, in Dutch. Posters in windows, we don't want a depot. Luckily, there were also some people who were actually friends. So seeing the positive side, and then in the end it was actually all decided upon with a lot of argumentation on different levels in the city government. And there was one party saying clearly no, but the rest did say yes. And at this moment we are indeed building. So, and it's getting really, really big, and it's very exciting to see it grow. So the urban debate. I'll show you this project, which is actually in Poland, the third one that we are working on at this moment in Wrocław. And also here, there's quite a debate on the project and how to benefit from this. Because of course you want to learn. You don't want to build something which nobody wants. You want to be part of it. You want to understand the location, your client, the people, etc. So this is the location, the Slodowa Island. Really amazing location in the city with a lot of history. And here, this is a very old picture, but you can see that actually, even those smaller islands, they're very green, but also again very urban. There's a lot of so the city is just continuing over these islands in the old days. And well, in the meantime, a lot of these buildings were actually torn down. And then the one on the left is still there, as you can see it here. This is not so long ago. In a beautiful park area, which is used really intensively, and of course, because it's a nice green area, in summer days and in weekends, there's a lot of festivals and people just hanging out. You have the park side, you have the more urban side. You have the contemporary side with some really beautiful murals, which is, something which is very prominent in Wrocław and actually other cities in Poland. And then you have the very formal side, the historic side of the building. Well, this building was actually, it was for sale, And this was the project, let's say, at that moment. So this was the total volume, sort of going back into the days in what you can actually realize. So to keep the building, because it is a monument, but also to add program, to create mass and a good environment for a new program. So it was bought some time ago, but of course with the research and all the people that we know around, we got to understand that this is a very valuable piece of city, used intensively, as I said before. So how to connect to this? How can you actually relate to this? So the program is as such that there's a lot of public space inside the building with gastronomy, with coffee place and a lobby on the one hand. And so here we did a bit like the Baltic, we just cut pieces of the building, let's say, and just made a raincoat around it, so to become like the market hall interior space. And cut the building to have people come in and see what's going on and to invite them, but also to open up the roof and make it more public and actually again give this beautiful view over the city, which the people actually never had. So here you can see the full section with the event terrace at the top, a cafe lobby and a food hall on the other side, and then there's co-working spaces. So a lot of traffic going in and out. It's not a static place. There's a lot of movement, there's a lot of events. There's going to be a curator who's going to indeed organize around this and make sure that it's used. So this was the image that we had a couple months ago, and we're actually quite proud of it, but of course we were not there yet. We didn't have an interior, so the view that we showed at that moment was actually just to show the connectivity to the park. But then we have, again, quite a debate. And how to work with this. It was too office-like, it was too heavy, it was too closed. Well, once we saw this comparison, we got a little shocked. So, of course, we don't want to, we don't want to ruin your beautiful cities. We should make something which adds to it. And maybe it takes a little time sometimes to understand what it actually adds. It also needs to, grow. But so at the same time, when we were looking at this image, there were multiple things going on. You had people who wanted to debate, really good. On the other hand, we also were, right halfway of the design. And then, of course, there's cost and there's time and there's a full team of people who actually would like to get to the right end conclusion. So we started to think again with the whole team, like how can we improve this building? How can we also make it maybe even a bit cheaper? How can we make it better to exploit throughout all the seasons, more diverse? How can we really open up to the public? And how can we also have indeed this debate at the same time? So we opened up the roof into a big, let's say, greenhouse. We looked at the facade again and said maybe we should make it a bit more friendly, maybe it should be indeed less office-like, maybe we should do something with the windows so they actually relate more to the monument. And sometimes the thing doesn't, and this is then at the point where we are now. And again, we're actually not really finished, but it's getting better and better. So this urban debate really has a lot of good impact. And this probably doesn't look, it's not going to, it's not the image what it's going to look like in the end, but still you can clearly see how we want to treat the existing facade, which is still there, how we want to treasure that and show that to the people. And also here, we're not sure what this whole space is going to look like in the end, but we are sure that we want to do something on this wall which relates probably to the art pieces and the murals which you have in this city. And then hopefully to connect indeed to this park and to this site, and people actually would like to use it and embrace it. So, interesting debate, let's move on with that. One final project, which is maybe the project where indeed also it started like a research. It really started as a project which was sort of beyond boundaries. We were just thinking out of the box, but now actually it's under construction. It's being executed. So to give the people what they what they want. There's a tea there, but Anyway, it's Almere again. There's a lot of Almere in this, I realize. And this is a
Today, many developed
short movie
countries
I
seem
would
to
like to
struggle
share.
with overregulated urban planning. There is little room left for individual creativity and innovation.
Can't even change the colour of my front door.
Or the shape of my roof. I need to go through so much bureaucracy to make my house sustainable.
What if we could reduce these rules while respecting the developed qualities? Is thus a self-organized city possible? In fact, there is a place where this freedom exists. Freeland is a radically liberated place. Here, I can build whatever I want. Everyone can. You can too. You can build a home of your dreams. A new software, the Housemaker, will help you realize your ideas. Call it Island. Of course, Freeland does not exist outside law, so whatever you do should not harm others. Therefore, freedom goes hand in hand with responsibilities. To make your house accessible, you construct a portion of a public road and reserve the space for the road network to grow. You will no longer be dependent on large providers of energy, water, and waste treatment. You will organize these services yourself. By enriching your plot with natural amenities, you allow for sufficient plant and animal life. In Freeland, you will contribute to producing your own food, but hardly anyone has time to produce all their food entirely alone. So, we need our neighbors. You can team up and share. Collaborating allows everyone to achieve better quality and efficiency. This is when I-land becomes we-land. So, what does this collectiveness give? An unexpected and surprising city that we raise all together. Facilities are developed by individuals, public organizations, and collectives. The absence of zoning allows for exciting interactive mixes, providing constant diversity and liveliness. Also, green areas are organized collectively on a larger scale. And all that is developed around an incredible variety of houses. One day, a factory came to Freeland. Like everyone else, the factory owner had the right to realize his dream, despite the anxiety of his neighbors. In response to their protests, he offered to extend the surrounding green buffer and proposed an unexpected exchange. Freeland is a growing attempt to organize collectively. To optimize this process, a group of individuals set up an interactive public planning portal, the Landmaker. It helps them to manage existing developments. Thanks to the Landmaker, Freeland's road network and public spaces are surely the most original in the world. Connected green areas form an unexpected green reservoir. Freeland develops as a rich assemblage of original ideas where urban planning is both advanced and basic. Its initial success brought more and more inhabitants and a bigger density. And three-dimensional individuality. Later, even neighboring areas decided to join Freeland, leading to new, refreshed environments. A new planning arises beyond today's imagination.
So this is actually the area what we're talking about. It's quite a vast agricultural area, which of course will get outdated pretty soon. And this is the environment, so who would not want to have a piece of this land and indeed decide on their own how to do this? So this is something for you, and how to work with the collective, because that's of course the key for this whole project, that it's not only you, but it's actually the collective, and you have to do things also together to make sure that you're all connected, for instance by road, that you have the energy, and then you're free to fill in the spot that you have bought, adding the space. And this is what it looks like actually today. So from the drawing, going back one, we actually already have this. So you can see there's actually some really, let's say, modern villas with very straightforward gardens next to this kind of tent situations down here. There's a lot of variety, and everybody can do exactly what they want. Build their dream house or their tent, or have their chickens in the best spot. And even create their own school, as we see now. So it really works in that way. They have their own school in one of the small tents, working together, working on the environment, trying to be aware, and of course, as the last image in this is working together on, making that everything works. And in this sense, it's still for a road, for cars, but who knows how quickly this will be replaced by the drones that I showed before. So, thank you very much, and let's make plans for the future. Thank you.
Fokke, thank you very much for the opening speech of our first day. Fokke, it really gave me a lot to think, your presentation, especially when we have the Wieland in the open area, and we have very beautiful. Definitely, we can find a lot of urban elements in the project. I'm asking myself, what kind of skills we need as architects for the future, and who is architect of the future if we see that people are trying to build themselves it and they are not really very much creative?
No, the creative part in this sense is indeed with them, and it doesn't need to be creative. It's the whole structure and the fact that they have the space to actually do this. So the whole structure around it, the process, the strategic side, that's the creative part, which indeed would need to come maybe from something or someone else. But yeah, the architecture of the future, of course, it's not only architecture, there's a lot of urbanism there as well. And we definitely need the research next to it, as I try to explain. But indeed, the social skills, the political skills, and the communicative skills, I think, are very useful.
The new ones.
The new ones, yes.
Wow, social and communicative skills. And definitely curator. This is also new what came up in your speech. Super, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Hope you enjoyed. Thank you.